My weekly routine is I get up at 6 a.m. so that way I can spend time in the Word. I have about 15 minutes that I spend in a prayer journal, and then about 15 minutes or so that I'll spend just being in the Word. I felt like I needed to be the spiritual head of the house, and I didn't feel like I was being that. I was being a good dad, I was being a good husband, but there was more. I wanted more, we needed more. I know there's going to be things coming down the pike, and I want to be prepared for that. And I think the best way I can be prepared is to have that relationship with God on a daily basis. I've been able to be in the men's Bible group in our neighborhood, which luckily for us, that group has gone from being sort of fluff studies to being very much just in the Word. My study started in the living room on a leather couch. But as the studies continued and they got more, it went from just one Bible and a journal to the CLC study to the Roman study that now I've moved from there to the dining room. And that's sort of become the place that I come before the throne of God. Not physically kneeling, but I'm sitting at the table and spiritually I'm kneeling before God saying, okay, I'm here. Direct me each day. And for me, it's starting in the morning. It helps start the rest of my day, because then part of the prayer is, okay, God, what do you want me to do today? How are you going to use me? And some days it's just saying, being nice to somebody. Each day's different. And so it's just a matter of being there that morning. Hello, I'm Mike Ford, and this is my story. I didn't want to just keep punching that time clock, and I realized that I didn't love God the way He loves me. And I still struggle with that one, because I still today don't. I still struggle with my own selfishness and my own desires, but through the last 2 years, that commitment of being in a relationship with other men, in a relationship and studies with my wife, through neighborhood study, through the CLC, Sunday school class, and watching our Link Group guys go from 6th grade little kids to now they're 9th grade boys and they're taller than me, and I've watched their spiritual growth, and I feel like if I'm going to be the spiritual head of my house and my family and my kids, I had to dedicate myself. I realized that all my spiritual growth was all I was getting is what I was getting Sunday mornings. And I was tired of being fed. It was time for me to feed myself. And so that's where the dedication came. And it's not been easy. Thursday mornings are probably the hardest, because instead of our CLC starts at 6, so that means for me to keep committed to my personal study, I have to be up at 5. And that's a bit of a stretch. Both my wife and I have been, I would say, radically changed in our own personal lives because of things that we've exposed ourselves to. Reading the Word on a regular basis and talking about it as a couple. For us, it's a common thread that we have together. It's a journey that we're both on, and I don't know where it's leading us. I don't know where what's got in store for us. But I think for Mary and I, it's been a true blessing, because as she's grown in her biblical knowledge and her spiritual life, and I've also been growing in my spiritual life, that I think that we're growing closer together, and it gives us a common thread to talk about. She will listen to a sermon and she'll say, you got to listen to this, or I'll read a part of a book that is just like, oh, this is nuts, Mary, you've got to read this, and it's given us something it's a journey that we've both been on. Hopefully it's made me a better dad. Hopefully that they'll see the kids when they come down Saturdays and Sundays, and they see me in the lit dining room doing my study. Hopefully it'll make an impact on them to realize that their dad thinks it's important enough to get up each morning and be in the Word, and hopefully that'll pay dividends in their life down the road. God absolutely loves me in spite of who I am, in spite of my failures, in spite of my flaws, and that He's a whole lot bigger than I always gave Him credit for. I sort of had God in this little box that If trouble came, I would stop and I would pray and I would ask God for His help. Uh, but He's so much bigger than that, and I think that if we could just get a slight glimpse of just the awesomeness of God, and yet He still loves us, that would take away a lot of our frustrations and anxieties and our fears and troubles, and it would really keep life a lot simpler.